Dear Dharma friends and all practitioners, practicing the Patriot Zen, we've emphasized the practice and the two criteria of practicing is belief in the Buddha nature and having doubt. Every day we have the meetings to ask questions, answering questions, and sharing experience is to um, encourage everybody to practice, believe in the Buddha nature, continue to practice. So when we practice correctly, eventually we will be able to be in control of our life and stop all of these sufferings, the roots of the circle of birth and death. So every day we practice, we get familiar with the practice. Our retreat times is the time for us to do the practice and get enlightenment. Usually in a big monastery, they have 4 words. Selecting the Buddha school. So this is the time, the retreat is a time to train to be the Buddha. So in the old time, when people they want to learn the practice, they have to go through many difficulties to find a place that they can learn the practice. But when they get into the retreat, that is a time just like they take a test in the school in order to get the license or get the degrees. So when we in a retreat, that's a time to select the Buddha. But now a day when we're practicing, we just get familiar with the practice. It's not the time to select the Buddha yet. We learn how to do the practice, familiar with practice. That's why we are slower than the previous patriots. The Buddha and the patriots said that this is the direct methods that focus on the cultivation of the mind and going back to the Buddha nature. So all practitioners need to do the practice continuously, diligently, and eventually they will reach the goal, which is the enlightenment. So for the practicing the Patriot Zen, because we don't believe in our Buddha nature fully, that's why all these thinkings, all these discriminations always lure us to the attachment to everything outside, the thinking, the knowledge, the understanding. we don't have a strong mindset in order to do the practice to overcome all of these interference. Even though in the monastery we have the retreat, but it's unlike the retreat in the old time. We are lucky to meet the right Dharma in this, the end of the Dharma times. Many people doesn't have a high level, but we are in a lower level of the mind. In order to transform into the higher level of the mind, we need to do the practice continuously and diligently. When we can do so anywhere, any times, any circumstances, we can still practice. And when we have the practice, we can look back to ourselves and we realize that we had enough. Everything is enough. It's just because of the habit, because of the ignorance that interfere with our practice, even though we had enough. That's why with the right Dharma, we always focus and emphasize the practice, continue to practice continuously, diligently, and we take the enlightenment as a goal to walk toward. And that is what I want to share today. So if you have any questions or want to share your own experience in practice, go ahead and speak up. Pháp Linh, go ahead. I'd like to ask a question for my mom, and she's on Zoom right now. She talking about her practice, and she want to say thank you to your help lately. And just because right now she living by herself and her husband, and she only go to the temple when the middle of the month, and she want you to help her. When she got the teaching from you, she put everything down and just keep on practicing. And she just keep on practicing even though she cannot go on Zoom. She always keep her schedule in practice. And today she wants to ask a question. When she go in the schedule during the day, she couldn't feel sleepiness, but at the time of 7 to 8, she feels sleepiness. She wants to ask about how that sleepiness going on during the practice. So in fact, during the practice, we are facing with our habits, the old habits that we had for a long times. So during the practice, when we see a lot of elusive thinkings in the mind, even though we don't try to suppress these elusive thinking, if the elusive thinking is not bothering us, we feel like our mind is calmed down and we feel that sleepiness. It's just like in the old age, sometimes we feel hard to sleep. However, now after the practicing for a while, they can get back that sleepiness. It's just normal. One thing important, that's at the time of question and answer is very close to sleep times. That's why she feel that sleepiness. Even though she feels sleepiness, but she still want to learn and practice. Even though she couldn't get on Zoom and she can still do in the practice, that is a good sign. Even she had some feeling of sleepiness. If she is tired, she can get the sleep at the beginning. However, later when she get familiar with the practice, she can overcome this feeling of sleepiness easily. It's just like a student when he studying for a test, because the urge of passing the test, he want to study and he forgets about the sleepiness, even the times. He just keep focusing on the studying. So the same for new practitioners. When we practicing and you at the beginning you still have these habits and ignorance interferes with your parents, your practice. However, if you have a strong belief in your own Buddha nature, you can overcome these feelings easily. We need to have a right mind, a strong mind, in order to overcome these interference. Like in Lai Quả, Zen Master remind us about rescuing your Buddha nature. He remind us that we always forget about our Buddha nature. We always ran after everything outside the materialistic lives. And that's why we had all these sufferings. It's just like in the sutra, Buddha Sutra, the Buddha gave example of the 4 wives. There are 4 wives. The 4th wife is the represent of the prosperity, the properties, when you love the fourth wife, which is your properties, your richness, when you die of those properties, your prosperity will be in the hands of others. The second wife is the wife that represent your money, and you will lose everything when you die. The second wife is the family's members. When you die, you cannot take them along. And the first wife is the wife that the karma that you made and that would be the one that go with you when you die. So that story telling us about the everything that we run after are just the elusive thinkings of the mind that we're running after. When we die, we won't get anything along with us but the karma that we made in this life. It's just like the three wives that money, families, and prosperity, those are just the one that we attach to, but when we die, we cannot take them with us. But when we die, the only wife that we take along gonna be the karma. So in our practice, when we doing the practice, we using the application wisdom to get into the observation wisdom and then reaching our Buddha nature wisdom. We're using the words to understand the way of practice and we apply that in our practice. Words and knowledge are just the finger pointing to the moons. Don't attach ourselves to them. When we believe in our own Buddha nature, we start a practice. When we had the application wisdom, we will get into the observation wisdom and then enter the Buddha nature wisdom. So everything that we're doing right here is just asking questions and raising doubt. Anything going on, any words, any knowledge or understanding are unimportant. Just apply them to our practice. When you believe the ore, the gold ore already had the gold, but it's contaminated with others, earth and minerals. We need to purify the ore in order to get a pure gold. So we already had this Buddha nature. We need to purify our mind, cultivate our mind in order to get a purified seed our Buddha nature already there. just because you don't want to go back to your own Buddha nature, if you want to go back, then you will make a vow to do the practice. When you believe in your Buddha nature, you don't ask for anything, you don't want to achieve anything outside of your mind, you don't want for anything else. When you believe fully in your Buddha nature, you need to ask questions and raising doubt. When your doubt going continuously and continuously, you reach the state of mind that no thinking can go on. And when you have that state of mind, you are very close to your Buddha nature. The doubt is the cause, and the enlightenment is the result. Our practice focus on the doubt and just keep on practicing. Is that understandable? Yes. Thank you for your words. I have another question. There are 3 generations listening right now in Zoom. My mom, my sister, and my nephew. When they doing the practice, could you give my sister a way of practice? Because right now she still have a lot of attachment from outside, and she's usually on Zoom and listen to your Dharma talk. Could you give her, even though she's on Zoom, but she didn't turn on the video, could you give her some words of encouragement so she can make a vow to practice and believe more in her Buddha nature? Every body conditions depends on their own conditions. When you have the conditions, a chance to meet this right Dharma, and you start the practice, you need to understand that you don't ask for anything in this practice, you don't achieve anything in this practice. If you have that asking for something or achieving for something, then you will have that fear of something going along. When you running after the asking, the achievement, or the fear, those are your habit, your attachment, and that's not going on the right path. When you start a practice, you get these reminder for you to go back to the practice. So just use that as a reminder for you to go back to the practice. This reminder is not to force you into the practice, but it's just a reminder for you to go back to the practice. As a Buddha teaching, the best way of practice is to practice with a reminder and using the good conversations and give goodness for the practitioners so they can have the opportunities to see the good in the practice. Just like when you are hungry, you cannot do anything. So we help you by giving you something to eat. So when you are full, then we will give you the way of practice so you can do the practice yourself. And the fourth way to practice is to transform into the life of the person you want to help. It's just like this is the hardest way to remind people to practice. It's just like a story of the person, the poor person who had a father as a rich man, and in order to make him believe that he had the father was a rich man, the father had to lower himself to that poor life, and he slowly got him to believe at the end that he is the son of this rich man. So when you help the person to do the practice, there are 4 ways like that. And the main things here is the vow or the decisions from the person. He or she will be the main one that decide to do the practice themselves. And they would be the one that doing the practice themselves. No one can help them. No one can do the job for them, but they should be the main one that doing the practice themselves. When we sharing this Dhamma talk, it's only to share our way of practice to everybody, but the way in order to get the experience in a practice, you would be the one that decide to do the practice yourself in order to get this experience yourself. So is that understandable? Yes, I guess that my sister will listen to your words and understand that. Kim In, go ahead. I'd like to ask about my experience in practice. Why is this what we ask for when I'm doing a practice? Asking questions in a monastery. I ask before the heaven and the earth come to existence, what was I? And I have a thinking, just like the feeling that thirsty and I want to drink for my quench. So when I realized that I was thinking, I realized that and I just asked back my questions before the heaven and earth come to existence. What was I? Even though I know that is the elusive thinking in the mind, the stealing mind, but I don't know why it's coming up during my questions, my practicing. So whatever that going on, any realms going on during your practice, those are just elusive thinkings of the mind. For some people, they feel cold. Some people, they feel hot during the practice. Or some people, they feel like a heaviness in their chest. Or they move their body around. All these are just the realms or the elusive thinkings of your own mind creations. Your habits, your elusive thinkings, your ignorance create all these. If you are practicing, you just going back to the practice. Keep on practicing. Don't stand up and go in against any precept in the monastery. When you can go back to the practice, you will overcome all these feelings, all these thinking in the mind. During the retreat, like Quả Zen Master always said that you cannot get out of the retreat. If you want to get out of a retreat, you will get hit 6 times. During the regular times of practice, you want to get out of the practice, you need to get 6 hits, 6 sticks, and you can get out. But during the retreat times, you won't be able to do so, even though you have 6 sticks, but you still need to stay there and do the practice. Because during a retreat, that is a time that you overcome all of these habits, all these ignorance, elusive thinkings in our mind. all of the karma that we did in this life will create all these elusive thinkings in this mind. We don't let these habits interfere with our practice during the retreat. When we in the retreat, our life is in the hands of the officers. Our life is in the three jewels of Buddhism. No one can let you out during the retreat. When we are not in the monastery times, we don't have the precept for us to follow. Now we outside of the monastery. If we still have the schedule for us to follow, then we can still do the practice. And the more we practice, the more we believe in our Buddha nature. The more we believe in our Buddha nature, the more we practice. We don't put down our practice at all. No, nothing can put down our practice at all. Is that understandable?